Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling, along with Eboni K. Williams and Kat Timpf, and this is the Fox News Specialist. Thank you so much for joining us today on the inaugural episode of the Fox News Specialist. Every day, Eboni, Kat, and I will be discussing the day's biggest stories, but here's the twist. We will be joined by two specialists for unpredictable and unexpected commentary. Let's meet today's specialist. He started his first company selling garbage bags door-to-door at age 12. Since then, he's developed businesses and invested wisely, earning him billions with a B. He doesn't golf, but he does love basketball, so he bought the Dallas Mavericks, an NBA franchise, and he specializes in all things entrepreneurship. He is Mark Cuban, and he is here. And he's the co-producer and co-host of The Circus on Showtime. He's worked on big league presidential campaigns, namely George W. Bush and John McCain's presidential bids. He has competed in 2 Ironman competitions, and his specialty is Nashville songwriting. Mark McKinnon is here. So on day one, you guys, we have 2 specialists, Mark and Mark. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on the first show.
Absolutely.
Cuban, I finally get you in studio sitting next to me.
Here I am, and I'm wearing a suit.
And you look great. And Mr. McKinnon.
humble by Cuban.
Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
A big get this morning.
Congratulations.
We've been working together, the 3 of us, for a long time, but never together at the same time.
Going back to cashing in, baby. Here it is.
You all get Karen Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Want to get this party started?
Excited. I'm very excited to party right now.
Guess what? 5 o'clock will never be the same.
Never.
All right, let's get today's top story. It's been one of the president's biggest promises since he hit the campaign trail: repeal and replace Obamacare. But thanks to what's being called Obamacare Light, Republicans were unable to seal a deal with Paul Ryan's plan. But reports swirling around today suggest they may finally be close to reaching a deal on health care. A senior White House official telling Fox a vote to repeal and replace Obamacare could happen as early as Wednesday. Earlier today, I sat down with the president to discuss this, amongst other issues. Here's what Mr. Trump had to say. Health care, we're going to get that passed?
Do the best I can. The one mistake I made with the health care, we have one plan that's been going through. It's been getting better and better and better. And somebody was saying, oh, the people that voted for Trump aren't getting good. They're going to get the greatest. These are the greatest people. We're either going to have a great plan or I'm not signing it. And I've said from day one, the best thing I could do is let Obamacare die and then come in with a plan. But it's not fair to the people. So, it's going to be very good. I don't want to set deadlines. I think it's going to be approved. It could be soon, but it could be not so soon. It's going to happen. But remember this, I've been really focused on this for like 7 weeks. That's 17 months.
All right, Eboni, so we make it a vote this week, and boy, I got to tell you, that was a hard-fought vote that he may be earning.
Yeah, certainly. But you know what I'm more concerned with, Eric, is instead of just getting a fast vote, something that's actually better. That's my thing. I've never been somebody fighting necessarily making Obamacare better. If you need to repeal it in order to do that, I'm not really beefing with that. But these harsh deadlines, the best thing I think President Trump said there is, I'm not concerned with the deadline. I'd rather get it right, however long that may take, than something fast and that's no better than what we currently have now.
He needs this, though. I mean, they decided that was the first thing they were going to do coming out of the box. Health care, that's a big initiative to take on first.
They should not have done that, in my opinion. And I did not like the last plan. It had the same pitfalls as Obamacare. And I agree that they should wait to find something perfect. But at the same time, not doing anything is making a decision. It's like if you're with your friends and you're arguing about where to go to dinner, you want to go to a really good place. But if you argue too long, the only thing that's going to be left is, the diner with the waitresses that smell like cigarettes and broken dreams and don't have teeth, which would be like single payer in this case, which nobody wants, and then nobody wins.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the politics of this.
Here's the challenge. They were able to get the Freedom Caucus on board because they now have in the bill an option where it goes to the states and the states can opt out of things like pre-existing conditions. The president said yesterday that he says pre-existing conditions should be in it. They should be guaranteed. Well, if they're guaranteed, then the Freedom Caucus is going to have a problem with it.
Well, because prices will go up if they're guaranteed.
Sure,
you want to have everything, and it's an emotional thing. And of course, you want people to be.
Of
course.
Look, who's going to take less? The stakeholders are the healthcare providers, the insurance companies, and the patients. Who gets less?
And that's really the thing that nobody wants to say, though. You're exactly right, Mark Cuban, because under what we currently have, there's no way for more people in America to have coverage, which is a goal of Obamacare. Probably the only thing it successfully did, 20 million more covered, but it is so much more expensive, and you cannot do both at the same time.
Can I jump in and give you the conservative version of why I think everyone can do better? We can have lower premiums, we have lower costs for health care by providing competition. Mark, you know this is one of the most important things. But hold on, let me finish this. So my biggest problem with the original bill was that it never allowed for health care across state lines. Competition drives down the prices.
Let's look at this like a business, right? How much do you think premiums could go down?
Premiums or health care?
Premiums for health care.
Well, how's this? How much can health care go down? I'll tell you how much premiums can go down.
Exactly, right? So have you seen any stock analysts downgrade any insurance companies at all? Have you seen them say, look, they're going to sell more policies based off of this? No, because it doesn't play out. Just because they want it to happen first doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And they better be careful what they ask for, because it's not going to work the way they plan.
Guys, my biggest concern, it doesn't happen at all. I mean, the promise is, Mark, is that it'll happen in phase 2 or phase 3 of a health care bill.
It's got to happen. And the worst thing that could happen would be to roll it out and have it go down again. So, as you said, Eboni, you should wait, make sure and get it right this time.
Here's the irony.
You don't want to strike out.
Here's the irony of the whole thing.
It'd be a disaster.
What was the number one thing Obama had to do when it came to selling the ACA? He had to get as many healthy people on it as possible. If and when this passes, what's the number one thing President Trump is going to have to do?
Give it the mandate?
Well, no, because of the tax payment that you have to make. He's going to have to go out and sell as many healthy people to sign up as possible. And if he doesn't go out and sell,
it's going to be the same problem that we have now.
So the irony is he and Obama have the exact same challenge.
Yeah, you know why?
The plan did the exact same thing. Just because you have to be penalized by the insurance company instead of being penalized by the government, you're still being penalized for not buying something, which I'm always going to give a thumbs down.
An inflated health care package that doesn't really make life better for you.
There's a reason why things that are covered by insurance have been rising in price, and things that aren't covered by insurance have been dramatically decreasing in price, because there's competition in one area only.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head. When you remove that mandate, Mark, and then you are forced to get healthy people on. If you don't have the mandate, healthy people say, look, I'm not going to do that. It's too expensive.
Exactly.
We pay out of pocket. Yeah.
But McKinnon, what about this? What about the Freedom Caucus, who now all of a sudden is on board? Somehow they were fighting it, and now they're on board. And I defended those guys tooth and nail for a long time, and I'm going, wait a minute, this isn't that different, but you're on board?
Yeah, well, I agree we got to expand the state pools like you're saying, and the freedom. I like the federalist approach, but give it back to the states. If they want to take up pre-existing conditions, let those governors deal with the politics of it. That will work. But
what about the health care of it? I mean, the politics are one thing. What about the people?
You know about the quality of health care, Mark Cuban?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what is not being talked about. I was discussing this with a very good friend of mine who's a practicing physician. He said that's the thing. We're talking about health insurance and health care, so like as if
they're very different things.
And they're not. They're not at all.
Yeah, the best thing would do just get the health insurance companies out, right? Why do we need insurance companies?
I agree with that.
The day has come where I think we can go however you want to do it.
You know what you're talking now, though.
Insurance is supposed to be catastrophic things only.
You're
not
talking
any little thing.
worst of all worlds in libertarian land, which is single payer.
Right, but we have de facto single payer because of all the risk pool money that both plans put up, right? We pay it through the back door right now because they're doing, what, $150 billion for risk pool and more under Obama? It's de facto single payer. We all pay in to pay everybody's
with insurance companies, with that system, then it's not really patient-centered because the customer isn't the patient, it's the insurance company.
The key is to make the pools bigger. That's what you got to do. Break down the state lines.
And Rand Paul would say that, but that would bring the insurance costs down. It doesn't bring the health care costs down.
No, it's exactly right. You're exactly right.
But the way to do that is to provide competition. Right? Let a hospital compete with another hospital.
Well, then get the insurance companies out of the way, period.
And how are these doctors going to feel, though, Eric? I liked your idea of competition. It will drive down premiums and prices. I'm worried about how it will affect health care itself, because if people are getting less, far less, right, for the coverage they're providing, I don't know how we continue to incentivize the quality if it starts being that cheap, so to speak.
Well, I get patient-centered, make doctors answer to patients, not insurance companies.
In a quarter of the states, or almost a quarter, you now have just one insurer. That won't work.
Yeah, it's a hot mess.
You know what the news is, though? It's big news. Healthcare, people care about healthcare.
You know what? And this stuff is hard.
Yeah. It is. And guess what?
I'm not,
we had fun talking about healthcare.
Stuff.
That was hard to have fun talking about healthcare. What's the biggest threat to the country? Is it ISIS? Is it a crazy Korean dictator? Is it the Democrats? We'll hear what President Trump sees as our biggest threat when Fox News, the specialist, continues. And make sure to keep the conversation going on Fox News specialist. Never going to be this. I don't know that one.
President Trump took some time out of his very busy schedule to talk with Eric Bolling today on the debut of the Fox News specialist. Now, they discussed many hot topics, as you can imagine, including how he's handling North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, as well as ISIS.
Mr. President, thank you for joining us. Let's start with North Korea. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. You mentioned it over the weekend with CBS. Kim Jong-un, is there a red line for President Trump with North Korea?
Well, I'm not like President Obama, where you draw a red line, as he said, a red line in the sand, and then lots of bad things happen, and he never goes over the red line. In fact, I actually covered his red line for him with Syria. But I will say that you see what's going on. It's very, very bad. It's very threatening to us and to many other allies. If you look at South Korea, if you look at Japan and others, it's a very horrible thing that's going on, and his statements are very inflammatory. They're horrible. So we'll have to see. I don't like drawing red lines, but I act if I have to act.
What would it take? Would it take a missile launch into South Korea, conventional?
You know, Eric, I've been pretty well known for saying, like, nothing when it comes to the military. When they announced they were going into Mosul in 4 months. And then they said, in 3 months, in 2 months, we're going in next week. I said, why do they keep saying that? And that was supposed to be a pretty quick battle for Mosul. Guess what? It's still going on because the enemy knew they were coming. You just don't talk about it. You do what you have to do, and you don't talk about it. So when people say, well, I was asked a question yesterday. Well, I mean, exactly when would you go in? At what time would you go in? I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't want to talk about it. I can say this. He's very threatening. He's a big threat to the world.
How safe are our troops that are along the demilitarized zone and our ally in South Korea? How safe are they with some of the defense systems that we've provided? And what's the status of those?
Well, nobody's safe. I mean, who's safe? The guy's got nuclear weapons. I'd like to say they're very safe. These are great, brave soldiers. These are great troops. And they know this situation. We have 28,000 troops on the line. And they're right there. And so nobody's safe. We're probably not safe over here. If he gets the long-range missiles, we're not safe either. So we have to do something about it, and we'll see what happens.
Is he your biggest concern foreign policy-wise?
I think probably yes. Look, we have ISIS. We're doing very well on ISIS. We have made tremendous strides in our fight against ISIS, and we have no choice. Not that we want to do this. We have no choice. There's an evil there, and we have to solve that. We can't let, you know, when I first saw the heads being chopped off, I said to myself, never seen that. Not since medieval times have we seen the things that are going on in the Middle East. So we have to solve the problem. We should have never been there. We should have never gone in. We should have never attacked Iraq. They didn't knock down the World Trade Center, by the way. But once we were there, we should have never gotten out the way President Obama got us out. That void was formed, and ISIS was formed, and now they're in 32 different countries. And I tell you what, I inherited a mess.
All right, Eric, so here I see you speaking with the president. He's clearly gravely concerned on both of these fronts from a foreign national security perspective and foreign threat perspective. Many times I heard you in that interview, Eric, giving kind of an opportunity for a line to be established as to at what point the president's going to move forward in a particular way. And he refused to do it. From your take, is that the way to go, to just keep all options on the table?
It was very interesting because I kept trying to get him to get to a red line. And I know they don't want to do that, but I think the American people want to know what it's going to take, other than they're going to, at the last minute, decide to maybe wipe out the North Korean missile systems or whatever they're going to do, or are they going to wait for a preemptive strike on one of our allies, South Koreans? I don't think they have the capability to get anywhere near here, but I think, you know, Japan could be at risk. And think about this for a second. I asked them about China. China has to step up. I mean, they provide energy to North Korea. They provide food to North Korea. If there is a war on North Korean soil, there's going to be a mass refugee problem going right to China. They're not going to go south. They're going to go right north to China. So I asked him, are they playing ball? And he alluded to the fact that they would, but it wasn't very specific.
No.
Look, part of the problem I see is he's scaring the hell out of everybody every single day, right?
You're talking about Twitter?
Well, no, just in general.
No, I mean, I'm serious. That's a serious question because I do think the
in general,
tweets
right?
kind of matter.
North Korea, Iran, ISIS, who else? Syria. I mean, all these catastrophic potential conflicts. So instead of just scaring us, I think he should really be talking about why he got voted in, his strength, his confidence in what we can do. Tell us the good stuff, right? Tell us where this military is going and how, you know what, these are threats, but here's how we're going to deal with them. We don't need timelines. We just need a sense that he can do it.
Absolutely. And I really liked when he was running, he was very much more into situations that involve diplomacy and we could work it out. We're not going to get involved in that. I mean, we need to do everything we can to make sure we don't have war with North Korea.
But Mark, on Syria,
massive bloodshed.
He went into Syria, acted on Syria, and people like Nancy Pelosi said props for that.
And by the way, 2/3 of the American people
we all should do a Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, I approve it too.
I think it's Obama's biggest mistake.
Look,
It's his biggest foreign policy mistake, and Donald Trump kept his word on it.
Look,
but why? Why was it a mistake? What success have we had getting involved in that area repeatedly over and over again?
Because Obama said he was going to do something and didn't do it. That you lose your credibility with other world leaders.
But I think that's where American, as a nation, is not very consistent or clear. Maybe is a better word around where we want to be. Do we want to intervene in these moments or don't we? Because Donald Trump ran though, Mark, saying that he was a nationalist candidate, that America was first, and that Syria was Syria's problem. But then when he bombs it, you know, a lot of people from the left as well are celebrating it. So again, it's an inconsistent message. I think we're even giving the president on what we want him to do.
If you look at any one of these individually, you can say he dealt with it right. When you look at them in aggregate, it's scary.
Why?
Right? Because he went from being voted in.
How are we any less safe based on what he's done?
This is where I think the
dropping bombs on both Syria and Afghanistan.
Are we any more safe though?
Not the point. He has got to instill confidence that we can deal with whatever enemy comes along.
This is where
and instead he's saying they're at risk in Korea. We're at risk here. Who knows?
But this is where the meetings with China have really helped. I think have been productive. Because,
I agree.
Because this is where the China, they can choke them off with sanctions. As you said, they've got electricity. There's a lot of other things they're offering to North Korea, and we can choke that off completely.
Look, if he gets the right preparation, he's one of the world's greatest salespeople. That's why I think he wants to sit down and have these meetings and do face-to-face diplomacy. Now, hopefully, he gets the substance he needs to do it.
Well, he has people criticizing him when he does that.
It doesn't matter. What he gets criticized for.
Do you want your American president to sit down with Kim Jong-un, that crazy dictator in North Korea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm not saying like grab his little cheeks and say, oh, you nice little chubby boy, you're so wonderful. I'm saying you talk and you do anything that you can to avoid war because
I don't want to call him honorable.
So many,
that was a mistake.
It hasn't worked not to meet with him. It hasn't worked not to meet with him.
Exactly. What do you have to lose by meeting with him?
Right. Or you could just do this.
10 million people live in the Capitol.
Look, whether it's right or wrong, every person.
If there's a war, that's going to be huge bloodshed.
Trump has been flattering him lately. I mean, McCain calls him a crazy little fat kid, and then when pushed back, he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's not little." But
every meeting,
I like that.
We don't know the exact issues, but every meeting he's had face-to-face with the head of government has turned out positively. Right. He is a great salesperson. Hopefully, they'll give them the tools and the information to go out and sell and offer diplomacy.
He could bring back President Xi of China and back to Mar-a-Lago. Remember the last time Xi visited Mar-a-Lago? He bombed Syria. So bring him back and have Kim Jong-un go,
hey, maybe some other than chocolate cake.
Let's back off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I love diplomacy as much as the next person, but I think you're right, Eric. It doesn't work all the time. You got to be honest about it.
You try it. You should try it first.
But first, these Mayday protests are normally focused on workers' rights, but this year, as you might have guessed, it's taken on a brand new meaning. Thousands hitting the streets to rally against President Trump's immigration policies, among others. You'll hear from them when the Fox News specialist returns. Stay with us.
Mayday protests are underway across the globe today as demonstrators speak out against more than just workers' rights. Here in the U.S., protesters in as many as 200 cities are taking aim at some of President Trump's policies, including immigration.
Yes, we can. We're here today in front of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building, which has really become a symbol of terror and hate.
We want to make sure that families are not being separated. We want to make sure that there's not corporations out there supporting the Trump agenda, which is an agenda that breaks away families.
There is fear and there is anxiety, but what gives me hope and gives me resilience moving forward is that the community is resisting and saying this is not the way that we should operate in the United States, and we got to stop. We're not going to go back in the shadows. We're actually going to fight because this is the country we love and we want to make it better.
Okay, so May Day is historically a socialism protest, and now it's apparently also an anti-Trump protest. I always thought the purpose of a protest is to show all the support you have for your cause. If everyone's got a different cause, it's a big group of people with a bunch of different causes, what is the point then?
Well, we did a show focusing on the resistance, the democratic resistance, a week or two ago, and what we discovered is, A, they are galvanized, but B, they are not unified.
Nope.
We went out, we did a Feinstein town hall, and she used to be like a liberal lefty from San Francisco, right? And now they think, all the Democrats think she's a sellout because she's not for socialized medicine.
So what's the point? Everyone's mad about something. If there's a bunch of people in the street, oh, we're all mad. Yeah, everyone's mad. What's the point?
This is America. This is what you do. You protest, right? You get the word out, particularly in a social media world, because it's going to get covered, it's going to get tweeted, snapped, Instagrammed, website, blogged, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree, but if you don't have a specific cause you're promoting.
Well, you start somewhere and you evolve.
So I love a good protest. And I've been in several. As a college student, as a law school student, I think, First Amendment rights are fantastic, and it's one of the things I love about our country. I do agree with you, Kat, though. When you've got, because I saw this started in New York City, at least on Saturday. Yeah. So I saw signs that said they were immigration, LGBTQ, police brutality, 6 or 7. So, Mark, I want to ask you this because you're a strategy guy. When you have maybe 4 messages, can any of them be effective? Or is that okay to kind of not put all your eggs in one basket?
No, that's the challenge. I remember when Republicans were going through it. When you get the party out of power, you spend a lot of time in the desert, and what you got to do is find water, and that becomes the unifying cause.
Right, well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are anti-socialist who might,
well, the unifying cause right now is Trump.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
This isn't, Saturday was the climate change people, today's the May Day people, there is the common denominator. They're all anti-Trump, and they're aggressively anti-Trump.
Right? But why?
But think about this for a second, though. Trump is a unifier on that regard. That's what he is.
That he makes all the
creating jobs. Look at the there were 200,000
I'll
people
bet you
in DC
any amount.
They are not all paid, though, Eric.
We can talk about creating jobs all day long.
Certainly not. A lot of them don't have jobs at all.
Let me just tell you this. Diplomacy starts at home. Right? If you want to end conflict, go talk to them. Don't just say, I don't acknowledge them or ignore them. You have to talk and you have to learn. You have to communicate.
You guys are saying the same thing about Donald Trump, candidate who could never become president, could never become the nominee, and could never become president.
He won. He's the president.
Because he was too anti, illegal immigration. He hasn't changed his stance on immigration, and he won, and they're still protesting.
I would admit that he has changed.
What is it? 76%
he didn't win the popular vote. A lot of people are still going to be upset.
I would submit that he has changed a bit on immigration, Eric, though, in terms of the order in which people are being deported. And I think this is my chief issue with it. He ran saying he's getting rid of rapists and murderers and whatnot. And instead, we're seeing many people that do not fall into that criminal category still being deported. And we know those stories. But this is my question to you, Eric, because you spent time with President Trump this morning. When he sees this type of resistance, this type of organized protest, so far we think it's been nonviolent. Do you think, to Mark Cuban's point, it can be effective? Is it something that he even thinks about or considers as he makes policy?
I honestly don't think the protests do, but I think his children do. And I think Ivanka and Jared Kushner are both they have an ear to this stuff, especially the climate change stuff. And I think that has softened Donald Trump because Ivanka and Jared have been saying, look, there are a lot of people out there, too, literally.
So he can be moved.
He is clearly someone who's listening.
He can be moved. Okay, that's
right, but not because of the protest, because whatever reason they're making, that issue is making its way to his top advisors.
He works so hard to talk to people overseas. He works so little to talk to people who didn't vote for him or who didn't vote at all. And that's the problem. It's going to be a long
true, but it's kind of a two-way street, right? The signs aren't like, please talk to me. They're like, Donald Trump is a hate crime. So it makes it a little difficult.
Small crowd, sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I point this out? Listen, this is a true story. The producer sent us out information on these May Day protests this morning, and I'm not kidding. It said hundreds of thousands expected to protest, and then it went down to tens of thousands.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody today. I walked to work with no problem.
Thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
Few people
right. Well, the president was renewing his feud with the media, issuing some harsh sentiments over the weekend. Up next, what President Trump told Eric about his rocky relationship with the press.
Welcome back to the Fox News Specialists. The president's love-hate relationship with the press was reignited this weekend while media elites gathered together in D.C. for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The president was in Pennsylvania giving a speech to his supporters and, of course, taking a few jabs at the press. Earlier today, during my sit-down with the president, I asked him about this ongoing feud. I assume when you say fake news, you feel they don't cover you fairly. That's what you mean by fake news?
Not all of the media. You know, I'll tell you, just that is unfair the way they cover me, because they say the media, I'm against the media. I'm not against the media. I'm against the fake media. If you look at CNN, the way they cover me, no matter what you do, it's negative, hits. So I love the media. I think the media is great. And if I do something bad, treat me badly. But they don't tell it like it is. And even on the 100 days, not to make a big deal out of it, you're going to see lots of great things happen for the next 100 days also. But we've done a lot.
All right, Kat, your thoughts on that Saturday night with the White House Correspondents' Dinner with those elite media elites with their bow ties and steaks, and then on the other side you had President Trump hanging out talking to his deplorable people?
Yeah, I would have done that too. Right? He could go somewhere where everyone's going to make fun of him no matter what, or he can go somewhere where everyone's going to cheer for him no matter what. So it makes a lot of sense. The fake news thing, you know, is always funny. There have been times where it's unfair, but he does kind of treat any bad news like fake news.
And that's actually, that's my question. So this is my thing, Eric. I believe in fairness, and the CNN relationship is adversarial, right? I mean, that's just where they are, and I get that. They're petty and mean with him. He's petty and mean right back. You give it as good as you take it. I'm fine with that. That's a wash. But the president says here that he's okay with some media, but I would love to hear him say, you know what? That's a fair critique. Let me take a look at that policy. If he said that, I think that this whole "it's not all media" thing would get more play.
Make those charges more credible.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
blowing off the Correspondents' Dinner was a brilliant strategic move, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, could you imagine if any other relationship like that was treated, where someone says, "Hey, we have some issues," and you just start screaming, "Fake news! Nope, fake news! Fake news! Fake news!" You have to listen sometimes.
All right, Cuban. When you have an adversary who's wildly unpopular, isn't it smart to continue the fight with them?
Yeah, the first 756 times, right? But at some point, you got to do your job. It was a great interview. You asked great questions, and he could have gone into substance or depth about anything. I'll give you an example. They got the budget approved through October 1st. That's his best move so far. He could be up there bragging about, look, we finally went across the aisle. We finally got things done. This is my example of me being able to bring people together and get something passed. Didn't even mention it. His finest moment, and he didn't even mention it.
But if he feels he's being treated unfairly by a group, a media group, whether it's mainstream media or print media, well, why shouldn't he continue?
Why doesn't he just carry around the world's smallest violin? I mean, it's crazy.
He could tweet to 100 million people, press a button, 140 characters.
That's fine, but then many of us are asking this question, Mark. Is his issue with mean media, or is it with accountability? Because that's a separate issue. If your issue is only with people that are treating you unfairly and being mean to you, that's fine. But if you have an issue with accountability, that's a problem.
I would rather have a press that is tough on the president.
Yes.
Because that is how you have them be accountable. I'd rather have them be too tough than not tough at all.
Well, but yeah, okay, Kat, but then what about the last 8 years under President Obama? We can't say the press was tough on President Obama.
And I'm saying that was bad.
No, they liked Obama.
That's the press's job. And I think this is going to be the golden era of journalism. I think it's an opportunity to be, truly great journalism. Let me give you an example. We all have to do a better job with fake news because there's a lot of it out there. And part of what's happening that is good, I think, is that consumers are becoming aware that there's a lot of fake news. But, for example, in our show, we were shooting the Easter egg roll. There was a thing, we were shooting it live, and there was a thing where the president signed a kid's hat and threw it up in the air. We were shooting a thing on Twitter, and he signs the kid's hat, throws it up in the air, so it looked like he threw the hat away from the kid. And Twitter went mad, and that's what we shot on the thing. And then it turns out the kid caught the hat.
Right, but it turns out that way, and then he's able to say, look at all this fake stuff. The truth does come out. That's not what I'm talking about.
We're 20 years into the age of the internet.
I'm just saying everybody has to be more careful now.
Well, but look, and I'm going to answer that. We're 20 years. I started a blog in 2004 because someone wrote a story about me and the Mavericks that was complete nonsense. So I put in the blog exactly what the facts were. This is the president, the leader of the free world. He has access to his website. He has access to Facebook. He has access to everything. He can do more than 40 characters. If someone is misleading, if CNN says something wrong, say what's right. Put out the facts.
Your point is a good one, though. He can't just say that everything he doesn't like is fake news. There's got to be times when something he doesn't like.
But you have a platform. You have the world's biggest platform with the internet to communicate around the world.
But he'll be more credible if on occasion he'll say, you know what, fair shot.
Just give us the facts.
So I think a lot of people would appreciate that, I think.
But he will still, he takes on the New York Times, he takes on the Washington Post, but he'll still go to them when he needs him, when he wants something, when he wants something.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Come on,
I haven't
you
ever
have to at
New York
least.
Times without failing in front of it.
Well, yeah, but okay, you're failing. But here's a story that you know.
Right, unless you're
I think
sitting
is
in front of
You
important.
are failing, but I will talk
Well,
to
look,
you.
you have to have, no, to your point, Eric,
They're
you're right.
succeeding
Every
because of
president
Donald
has
Trump.
to have a dialogue with certain parts of mainstream media.
Of course.
That's necessary.
But if he feels there's one group that just completely will never give at least a hat tip to his side of the story, why should he embrace that?
But he
Good thought.
does. I mean, he meets with the people
kind of-
that he thinks are his enemies. And that's
We gotta
actually
go.
smart.
We're getting wrapped here. Recently retired former President Obama, that sounds great, has spent time rubbing elbows with one percenters, and now he's taking heat for making huge bank off Wall Street speeches. And it's not just me who thinks so. It's folks from the left, like that guy over there, Cuban.
But President Obama continues to be under fire for banking $400,000 in speaking fees. Let me say it again, that's a big number, $400,000 per speech. And the criticism isn't just coming from those on the right. The New York Times issued a blistering takedown of the president, saying, quote, "It is disheartening that a man whose historic candidacy was premised on a moral examination of politics now joins almost every modern president in cashing in." Van Jones also had some words for the president and perhaps some advice on how he can fix the problem.
If he were to do a poverty tour first, listen, he should not be the first president that has to be broke. Listen, every other president went out there and gave big speeches. Don't hold him to a second standard. Don't give a double standard to him. But I tell you what, from a moral point of view, it would be great for him.
Okay, Eric, this is my issue with that. I think everybody in America knows how you feel politically about President Obama, but this issue specifically, because I do know you are a capitalist, I think where Van Jones and many of the progressives, to me, are being the ones that are tone deaf here, is why are we demonizing and equating it as a moral failure to want to make money? And here's where I'm coming from with that. I think many people in this country are maybe left of center or something like that, maybe can go that way, but we still work hard and want to do well in life and live a good life and a good lifestyle, and not be made to feel bad about it. So can you help me reconcile this?
May I? I think
please.
Van is 100% right. I mean, President Obama is going to make $1 billion. He's going to be like this guy over here.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. So go ahead and do the poverty tour first. Go ahead and hit the people who elected you. I mean, he was a grassroots organizer. He went to door to make sure people who felt they were not part of the system.
And so he shouldn't do
were
well
part
now?
of the system.
Let's ask the
Of course
lefty
he should.
capitalist what was your advice?
Well, I have a real problem with what he's doing.
Well, please tell me why, because I'm for the life. Seriously, I can't. Here's the other reason. These people, Van Jones, Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, everybody that's condemning Obama right now, were with her, right?
And
And
what's
she
your
also
problem?
made a whole bunch of money speaking to Wall Street as well. So why is it okay
What's
for
your
Hillary
problem, Mr.
and not
He's
okay
gonna
for
tell you.
Obama?
He's gonna tell you.
Okay, I
I
can't
have
wait.
a real problem. He's not charging enough.
Oh, okay.
Are you kidding? One, first, President Reagan got $1 million a speech in Japan in 1989. Two, he's killing the market for the rest of the people who go out and
Right here, Cuban. Right here.
right?
Boom.
Charge
Yeah,
more.
I like
and I've
it.
even
Okay.
said that to him in the
agree.
past.
Yeah, but he
Okay.
could give a few away first, right?
Well, he probably
What is the
does. He
order
does.
matter?
Like when he went to
this
Chicago
does fit in
to
with
speak,
his
he didn't
mission a
charge
little
for
bit.
that.
It does kind of fit because he always said that the Wall Street fat cats have too much money, and now they have 400 grand less.
Yes, and it should
so
have been
maybe
a
that's
little
what he's
less.
trying to
He
do.
needs
Maybe it's
to
just a little
negotiate those
sneak
deals
job.
for him.
Trickle up, trickle up.
I mean, of course, it's hypocritical, but kind of who cares? There's been plenty of people that I've
Drag
said,
the
oh,
rate.
this person's a problem. This is not a good person. But if they called me up and said, hey, Kat, come over and talk to me, and I'll give you 400 grand,
Kat, you
I'd
can't-
say, I'm on my way. And
What?
maybe even I love you.
Only question, Kat, is... right?
You all would.
so much
Stranger
of that.
things have happened.
I'm just saying.
But can you not make money and still be passionate and compassionate for poor people in America?
yes.
Yeah,
How
you
does
can do
that
that
work?
after you're done making your 400 grand.
Oh.
Drag
I
the
thought
rate,
the 8
drag
years
the
he
rate.
served in
You just
office
had the
as a
hardest
public
job
official.
in the world. Drag the rate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get paid.
Get paid and get back on that
Wait,
then you can do
boat,
whatever.
parasailing
Mark,
and everything else.
he signed a $65 million book deal. He's going to be okay.
Okay.
Right?
There should be more, right?
But how are you going to be the president who says, yeah, I'm of the people, for the people, by the people, and then once you get out of
people
office,
want to make money.
Eric is charging 400 grand for
I
a
am
speech.
stupid rich. I am stupid rich.
I know
No,
that.
And I get to give money to anybody for anything, anytime I want, and I try to help as many people I can.
But
And
you
so,
never played like you were one of the people. You never said, vote
he
for
started
me.
off
I'm
as
going to
one of
make
the
your
people.
life
Give me
better.
time.
And then
You see
forgot
that?
your time.
Yes, right. I got a theory about
That's
this.
how rumors get
I got rid
started,
of the
Mark
Cuban
Cuban.
theory.
I like that. So what do an NFL draft pick and O.J. Simpson have in common? Well, they're both making headlines because of this T-shirt. Are you stumped? Well, wait until you see this. Stay with us.
Newly drafted Buffalo Bills wide receiver Zay Jones made the cut for the team on Friday night, but he made headlines for a different reason. During the draft, the 22-year-old was seen wearing a T-shirt inspired by O.J. Simpson's famous 1994 police chase, but with a twist. Instead of showing police cars chasing the Simpsons' white Bronco, the shirt showed a bunch of white Broncos chasing a police car. It's apparently some sort of statement. I do understand issues with criminal justice, particularly in the black community, and police brutality. However, is O.J. Simpson really the example of the person that you want to have be the poster?
Well, I think that. Okay, let me stop, Kat. Let me stop you. I don't think we need to overstate it because Eric and I were talking in the break. I don't know what we're to take from that T-shirt, right? I don't know that he's holding up O.J. Simpson.
He was just worried everyone else would be wearing a shirt with the police chasing O.J. and he wanted to be
I'm just saying. I just don't want to be overly conclusive. That's all, because I don't know that he's saying that.
Well, but the point is, people are going to read into it whatever they want to.
Yes.
And listen, I defend First Amendment. I went to jail on a First Amendment charge. But if you're going to do that, be smart about it, especially if you're a professional athlete. Just ask Colin Kaepernick.
I want to know
Some
why.
people think Colin Kaepernick was being smart, Mark.
Mr. Cuban, you are a T-shirt interpretation expert, specialist, if you will. What do you think?
I think you be you, right? Whatever it is you want to convey, do it. If it's a conversation starter and you have a point you want to make, go for it.
The second part's what I don't get. What's the point?
The point's big, right? Yeah. We're talking about it. So he's already made progress.
There you go.
Let me ask you this, Mark Cuban. As a franchise owner, though, when you see this player up for grabs, so to speak, at a draft, and you see him making some type of political social justice statement, we don't know what it is, but he's making a statement, does it give you pause?
No.
No.
Can you play?
All right.
Right. I don't. Anybody who works for me, they can say whatever they need.
But if a player's a distraction,
does
that create a problem?
Right. You can play. Technically, Kaepernick could have played.
Well, no, that's arguable.
He wouldn't
That's
started
arguable.
beforehand. He
That's my point. Yeah, let's not over. He ain't the best out there. Yeah.
By the way, your buddy Cam Newton.
Don't start, Eric. We're having such a good
might as well
show.
go on one
Such a nice
We're going
time
to do a
today.
shout out to Cam at the end of the show. Remember?
There's a special Cam surprise at the end.
We got a Cam moment.
Got it in. The
Well,
Cam.
gets it in. So are you happy now with that?
I got my dab in?
Yeah.
I'm sad we didn't bet on it, though, but yeah.
Oh, bummer. Always looking to make a little bit.
Well, he just made that clear.
I hate to do this. Can we speculate on what it actually means? We have like a series of white Broncos chasing one squad car, right? I mean,
yes.
I literally don't. What's the message?
I don't know what it means. I know that right now there's a lot of nostalgia around what happened in Los Angeles around the OJ, right? This past weekend at Tribeca Film Festival, 1992, LA riots anniversary came up. So I think there's just a lot of unanswered questions, Eric, around the Los Angeles PD, around black men in America, and the police, all that stuff.
Right, but OJ was treated more than fairly. They let him drive around a very long time with his little mustache bag and everything
nobody's crying for O.J. Simpson in the black community that I'm aware of.
Right.
So I don't know that that's why I speculate around what the shirt meant.
You know what blew me away also? I realized it was 22 years ago. This kid's 22 years old, right?
Crazy.
So he's wearing a T-shirt. Something that happened the year he was born.
But he's got everybody talking about him right now.
Rick, you got another interview with Trump that's coming out tomorrow. You want to talk about that a little bit?
We have a little bit more with the Trump interview. I went deep on a lot of things, and we didn't have time to obviously get all of it. But he was very engaging. He really went. He wanted to talk, and he was very nice to give us this interview because it was our first show, right? He's like, you got to do this for your first show, and he was fantastic. 60 Minutes said, I don't want you necessarily doing it, but he said, I'm gonna. It was really cool too. I mean, I'm a political junkie, so while I'm waiting for the Trump interview, General McMaster walked by. I'm like, hey, General, how you doing? And then Reince Priebus walked by, and then Sean Spicer was over there. I yelled over there, hey, Spicy! He gave me kind of a frown look. Like, don't.
I want to know what was on his desk. What was on the president's desk?
That's a great question.
It was clear. It was a telephone on the president's side. It was completely clear, and the telephone. That was it.
What do we think of his next 100 days?
I have a picture. I'll post it on Twitter after the show. But it was a clean dress.
So Eric, we're done with the first 100. What do you anticipate from this president for the next 100 days?
Well, I think, oddly enough, he finishes 100 days, and the week he finishes, we might get health care, which will lead into tax reform. I asked him about a time frame on those, and guess what?
Maybe.
The big might.
No, but here's a big one. I said, what about infrastructure? He's like, I really need that because I want the Democrats in.
I think that's really tax reform and infrastructure is where he should have started, in my opinion, because
he probably
that's where he did.
And I'm going to tell you here now, you hear from me first, right? His attempt to add more jobs by creating these factories is going to lead to fewer jobs. And 18 months, 24 months from now, if you look at the total employment for any company he's bragged about, they will have fewer employees. He doesn't recognize that. He's not getting the
What do you think about the next 100 days,
Because
Mark?
the
What
whole
do you
change.
expect?
I think what he's learned in the first 100 days is going to help him in the second, which is process matters. Process matters.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Get it done right.
Boy, did he get burned by that. And
a little
not
bit.
necessarily because of himself. I mean, think about this. Mark. No.
Maybe a little.
Let's be honest. Okay, so
Exactly.
healthcare, right? Paul Ryan was the one who came up with a healthcare plan and said to President Trump, I can
Eric.
sell this. And Trump, if he has a strike against him, he believed Paul Ryan.
All right, so he learned that.
Yeah, but isn't
That's
it
why
his
he's doing tax reform
responsibility?
differently.
So trust and verify?
It's
Is that
his
something you learned?
responsibility.
Trust and verify?
He's got to learn some of the basics. You know, he doesn't know what the 3 R's are.
Hey, dude, let me ask you something. You bought the Mavericks, right? You weren't a perfect owner the first week, were you? The first 100 days owning the Mavericks?
No, but it was money. I mean, they were the worst professional sports team in America. There was no place to go.
He started with the worst Congress
With the
in
national
America.
title. A national title.
He inherited a mess. I've heard him say that.
Yeah, he started with the worst team in Congress ever, so he's got nowhere to go but up.
Yeah,
Hey, Eric, let me say thank you for inviting me. This was amazing. Congrats on the first show.
5 p.m. will never be the same.
That's a tagline. That's one of Kat's friends who came up with that. That's a great line.
Kat,
Thank
Ebony,
you
you
guys
guys were
both
amazing.
for
Thank you
joining
guys
us.
so much.
Thank
This
you.
was a big honor.
Fantastic.
Thank you
And I
so
got the
much.
dab.
You did.
Wait, we got all dabs.
Ready?
Okay, ready? Go.
We're done.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our Fox News specialists today, Mark Cuban and Mark McKinnon. And make sure to tune in to the Circus's final episode airing on May 7th on Showtime. Thank you all for watching today. Come back tomorrow because Joe Namath will be joining us. Make sure to keep the conversation going on Twitter using the hashtag Fox News Specialist. Special Report is next.